And you had Rodon on the mound today, and Dominguez from the right side taking him deep. Just overall, what's your impression of him early on?
Carlos?
Both of
Or
them.
both?
And,
Yeah. Carlos, I think, doing great. Stuff's really good right now. 3 ups today, 42 pitches, I think. So he's in a good spot in his build-up. Like where a lot of his pitches are. We really saw his changeup become a factor for him last year, especially the second half of the season. I think it's a pitch he's got really good feel for and continues to be more and more a part of his arsenal. But the fastball's in a good place right now too. Life, carry, and then a really good swing there by JD.
With Dominguez, Aaron Judge was just in here, and he kind of joked that they said to Dominguez, "You're next to 2 former Rookie of the Years. It's your year." Just how do you think he's going to manage the pressure of potentially being the starting left fielder of the New York Yankees?
Yeah, you never know for sure. I'll certainly bet on the person. Just in how I've gotten to know him and kind of obviously following him through his path to through his minor league career into the big leagues, and obviously bursting on the scene the way he did a couple years ago. I think he's got a great demeanor about him, and he's got a lot of talent. So, like the work he's putting in so far, and hoping and expecting that he's a big part of things this year.
Chris and Brendan.
He said this morning, Dominguez said this morning, that he was lost at the plate last year from the right side. Where do you think he is in his development from the right side right now, and do you envision him, facing left-handers who are tough against righties?
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Again, like he's really young and he's not real experienced. So over time, I think he's going to be a real factor from both sides of the plate. He's probably further along right now left-handed. Certainly the results would suggest that. But again, it's pretty small sample for a young man that's young in his career. So, I mean, it's live BP, but it's, that's a pretty good pass he put on to show you, like, he's got power right-handed like he does left-handed. I think he's going to have the ability to control the strike zone like he does left-handed, but right-handed is probably, in his development, probably a little further behind. But I think over time, we'll look up and he'll be a guy that's still switch hitting years from now and a factor switch hitting.
Brendan.
2 questions. What do you hope it is that Jason soaks in sitting in that spot in the clubhouse?
Just being around great people that have been there, done that, know what it takes, and we'll I'm assuming with Cody, but I know with Aaron, will take it upon himself to really, make sure he's doing the things he needs to be doing, continuing to refine and develop his routine. So I think it's just being around 2 really good pros and obviously outstanding players that can certainly relate to a little bit where Jason is at his point of his career, both being, big prospects when they were coming through as well.
And why is World Series Volpe the Volpe you think he can be going forward? We'll playoff as well. He will in the playoffs as well.
First of all, he has the ability to do it. He has the ability to impact the ball. He can drive the ball the other way with authority. I think it's about just being consistent with his move. And I've said it a lot, but that week we had leading into the playoffs, I felt like he cleaned up his move. Like me watching him every day, just watching from the side, it kind of leaped off the screen. Like, yes, that's it, Anthony. And he took it right into the playoffs. And as a result, we saw just consistent at bat after consistent at bat, impacting the ball. I felt like there were times this past year he was good a lot, but there were a lot of times where he got into a funk to where he was just kind of crash into the ball, not making the right move, not getting that separation that he needs. So I think it's about doing that consistently, which he should be able to do. I think he's had a great winter. I saw him hit quite a bit, even this winter up in New York when he was coming into Yankee Stadium some. So I think he is really starting to lock in and develop a consistent move that I think will lend itself to more consistency throughout the year.
Who else? Randy and Ron.
What's the reason Austin Wells isn't swinging? He said he's not going to play the first week. He says he's not hurt. It just seems strange for a guy who's not hurt to not even be swinging a bat.
Yeah, he's been swinging off velocity and everything. I think he's just tracking and taking it slow. As far as the first week, that was me telling him, like, I'm not playing you probably till, give or take, whatever, call it March 1st, end of February, whatever it is. And really it's just how much he played down the stretch, and having never been down the stretch, let alone in September and October, the amount of games he played in the second half, at times a little banged up, but overall pretty good. And then obviously having a little bit shorter of an off season, I think he's in a great spot, and he's doing everything he needs to be ready. I've kind of told him I want to slow play you a little bit, so let's move accordingly.
He says that he didn't feel fatigued at the end of the year, but because he did play a lot more games, a lot more innings, do you think that's a reason why he might have struggled with the bat in the playoffs and in September?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think it's, and I'm not positive, but I think it's very subtle. There's just no replicating the kind of load he took on those final couple of months of the season, and now you add on the added intensity that October naturally brings. So that said, I think he was sound, and I probably can't name a catcher out there that isn't a little fatigued at that point of the year. That said, hopefully going through all that will better equip them and better build them up to go the long haul this year. But so if he did fatigue, I think it was subtle and probably something to that.
Andy. Ron, did you have a question? Go ahead, Andy.
What's a path that you see toward Dom Smith being able to possibly contribute? And if you need some DH at bats in April, say, is he someone who could be in that mix for you?
Yeah, look, I mean, the guy's been a really good hitter throughout his career, pro hitter. I know he feels good about where he is. He's in good shape. We'll even probably try and get him out in the outfield a little bit. So we'll just see. The reality is probably something has to happen to open up a lane there. But he's here because we know if that lane does open up, we've got a quality hitter, quality person that you can add to the mix real easy.
In the outfield, you do see that as plausible? I don't believe he's done that since the Mets.
Yeah, I know he's worked a little bit out there. I frankly haven't even seen it yet, but so it'll be something we talk about to get him in that mix to see if it's something we should have.
Ron.
Do you have any sense yet, this shorter period in, how the personality in that room changes with the additions and subtractions from last year?
Tough to say. That's one of the things I talked to the guys about today. We had as close a team as I've seen that I've been around last year, and I think that was a strength for us. But the one thing I told the guys, that's not a given. You gotta work for that. You gotta pour into that all the time and invest in one another and push one another and challenge one another. So I would like to think that we'll be in a good spot there. It's always something we place a premium on and a priority on. But it's tough to say what that personality is at this point.
And did you address what happened at the end of last year in Game 5 in the 5th inning as a need to use it as motivation?
No. Another one of the things I talk about that I think is a separator for team is hunger. And I thought we were a very hungry club last year. And that's one of those things that's not a given either. We got to fight for that. We got to push each other for that. Because ultimately you want to be a together team, but you also want to be a real hungry team. And we got to develop that. We've got to work at that. We've got to earn that, and we got to hold each other to that account. So that's another thing that we talk about a lot.
Brian and Greg.
Aaron, if Stanton's not ready to start the year, how much do you think you DH Judge? How much would that be your game plan there?
That sounded like a hypothetical, Brian.
It's a hypothetical, yeah.
Look, hopefully that's not the case, but it always, anytime G's down, I like to give that as time for Judge to DH some. So it just depends. It depends what the makeup of our club is, honestly. Like, who's in the mix. If we have a more natural DH or something, then he won't get a lot of DH reps. But there are times throughout the year, more so when he's been playing center field, that I really value him getting some DH days. But that'll still be the case in right field, so we'll see.